Hi everyone. We're going to continue talking about big ideas, and today we're going to look at the book C.S. Lewis's Mere Christianity, and this is one of my absolutely favorite books that's outside of the Bible. C.S. Lewis and his ideas really helped me and shaped me when I was a brand new follower of Jesus Christ. And if you haven't read him before, then you've been avoiding the Chronicles of Narnia and all kinds of other books. But Mere Christianity is really his foundational book. This is, if you want to understand who he is, this is the one to go for. I also incredibly love the Screwtape Letters, very creative, and this one is a little bit one you'll either love or you'll hate, but The Great Divorce is amazing. It talks about heaven and hell. But Mere Christianity, although it's very easy to read, he's a fantastic writer, he's very, very clear. The problem is his ideas are so dense. They're just very, very, I would say they're things that everybody thinks about, but they're not, we don't think about it the way that he does. And so when you read him, you really get some very unique understandings. Now, C.S. Lewis was an Oxford Don. He was a professor of literature, and especially medieval literature. But he became famous when he converted and became a follower of Jesus late in his life after years and years of being an atheist. And he began participating in these debates and dialogues at his university where people would come and they'd present ideas and then people would talk about them. It sounds like a very English thing to do. But we're going to look at, just very much scratch the surface, at a couple of ideas in this book. And so we're going to do the first one in this video. And I guess, the way to talk about it is that the first part of this book is talking about the reality of law, the reality of not just laws of nature, but of laws of human nature. And just as, if we read a law, we realize that there must have been someone, politicians, judges, and everyone else who helped craft that law. So why do we think that there is not someone who has crafted a law of human nature that we all understand and we all believe in? So, here's the way he begins it. A law of human nature. Everyone has heard people quarreling. Sometimes it sounds funny, and sometimes it sounds merely unpleasant. But however it sounds, I believe we can learn something very important from listening to the kind of things they say. They say things like, "How'd you like it if someone did that to you? That's my seat. I was here first. Leave him alone. He isn't doing you any harm. Why should you shove in first? Give me a bit of your orange and I'll give you a bit of mine. Come on, you promised." People say things like this every day. Educated people as well as uneducated people. Children as well as grown-ups. And he goes on to say what interests him about remarks like that is that the person who is saying these things isn't just merely saying, "Hey, that's my seat." They're appealing to a law, to an idea that's bigger than themselves or the other person. And so they seem to be saying, like, it is wrong to take someone's seat if I was there first. That's the way things are. Or it's fair, if I give you a piece of my dessert, then you give me a bite of yours. And if you take a bite of mine but won't give me a bite of yours, that somehow seems wrong. Now, of course, this is looking at things at a really kind of trivial level, but he's saying this applies to absolutely everything. If you take something from someone, then you say, "Hey, you shouldn't steal from me. That's wrong." But people, it's interesting, they might justify, and they might steal something, and they might say, "I have a good reason to steal this." But if someone then comes and steals from them, maybe even the same thing, they'll say, "Hey, stealing is wrong. You shouldn't do that." So C.S. Lewis basically has this little idea. Why are we saying things like this? If there is a God, then it makes sense that he's written in our hearts a moral order, a human law, where we recognize right from wrong all the time. And again, this is completely unavoidable. We do it all the time. Everybody is recognizing that they have a sense of right and wrong. And even when they're justifying themselves, "Hey, I may have done wrong, but you've done more to me," or "I may have done wrong, but I don't care." But they reverse themselves as soon as that thing is done to them. they immediately appeal to this law of human nature. So what he's saying with this big idea is not only is there a law of human nature that is completely real, everybody engages in it at all times, but that implies that someone wrote that code into us. That if there's a law, then there's a lawmaker, a lawgiver. And because this is something that we deal with all the time, this is an evidence not just of God. And here's where the idea, which is a big idea already, but even gets bigger. Not only, can we understand, that God has done this and it's proof, quote unquote, or in evidence that there's a God, but even more interestingly, we can understand what kind of God there is. So in knowing this law, we can not only know what to do in our lives, but we can also get to know him more. Why is it that I know that, I should forgive somebody, and when I do forgive somebody, a load comes off of my shoulder and I feel better about myself, where if I don't forgive and maybe I even pursue revenge, that revenge, is never something that satisfies. It usually destroys the life that was already hurt in the first place and wanted to take revenge. So why is it that we deal with this moral law all the time? But if we actually act accordance to the right and the wrong that it's telling us, we actually understand and get to know and become more like the person who made the law. So it's a fantastic concept. And first time I read this book, I really read it as a way to help other people. I wanted to show my family, I wanted to show other people that there was a God and what kind of God there was. And I loved, pointing out the types of things that C.S. Lewis was talking about in this book. But as I've read it now several times, and a good portion, I don't think you can see it, is underlined and pages are tabbed. As I've read it now several times, I've realized what I really love about this book is when I start to think about these big concepts. Like every single time I appeal to this is right, or this is wrong, or this is just, or this is fair, I'm recognizing some portion of the wisdom and the goodness and the fairness that is in God all the time. And it does something really wonderful. So let me see if I can explain this. So imagine that my wife makes fantastic dessert absolutely every single night. And so I just start to take for granted that there's dessert there. And I eat the dessert. Maybe I even mumble something like, this is good. Okay, that would be a fine thing for me, at least, in my life, that I would recognize that something good is provided for me and I actually enjoy it. I think that's what most people do when they consider the concepts of right and wrong and justice and fairness and things like that. They realize that they want to be in the right. I think most people do want to be in the right, and they recognize the benefits of being in the right. And so that's like sitting down and noticing that there's dessert. But if you can take it one step further, just one step further, and look up from your plate, even though it's catching your attention in your eye, and look at the person who made the dessert, then all of a sudden you start to realize, wow, this person who made this wonderful dessert for me, not only did they have the capacity, and that's quite amazing, to make this dessert, but they know me. They know what I like. They know what's going to appeal to me. And then I have the opportunity to not just appreciate the dessert, but the dessert maker. That's the invitation, and that's the true big idea, I believe, that C.S. Lewis is writing in these first several chapters of Mere Christianity. The key is not for you to recognize that there is a right and wrong. Even people who say that there is no right and wrong, they're in denial. They're in complete denial. There is no truth. Well, is that true? Is it true that there is no truth? So that doesn't make any sense. Those people just need a little shaking so that they can get back on track. But it's not just recognizing that there's a law, but looking at where this law came from and starting to appreciate what you can know and what you can explore about this great lawgiver. So I want to give you a challenge here at the end of this big idea. Every single day, we have an opportunity to go on an expedition to explore God and His nature. Yes, you need to get through your day. You need to take care of your things. Hopefully you'll be kind of conscious of what's going on to a great capacity and really be able to appreciate. But the whole purpose, in my opinion, of life is not just to focus on what is happening around you or happening to you, but to get your eyes and your heart and your mind focused on the bigger picture, which is God is there, He's involved, and you can know Him. It's a completely different way of living, and I hope you enjoy this day. God bless you and keep you, make His face shine upon you, and give you His peace.